You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 69. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how to stop over drinking in 90 days without missing out on life. If you're not an alcoholic, but fed up with saying yes to a drink when you mean to say no, you're in the right place. Hello everybody and welcome back to the podcast. All right, today what do we have in store? We're going to talk about abstinence or moderation. This is a rather fraught topic, in my opinion. It's one of those areas where I kind of imagine, lines in the sand are drawn between the two opposing views. Sober is the only way, and moderation is not possible. Moderation never works in the long term. You're going to like this next one. People searching for moderation are functioning addicts. You're kidding yourself if you think you can moderate, or if you have any kind of thoughts around your consumption of alcohol being a problem. You have to go to AA. You have to just stop drinking, and that's just such bad luck for you. I mean, all of that, right? And then there are people who are saying, look, I recognize I don't identify as an addict. I'm a totally high-achieving, normal life. It's just this one area of my life that I find annoying. And so often people who are in that camp, they want to moderate because they say, I just can't imagine not having wine in my life. Now, whatever your rationale is, whether you want to not drink or whether we want to drink in moderation, drink now and then, keep alcohol in your life, that's what we're going to talk about today. And my main message on this, my core belief, is that you get to decide what relationship with alcohol works for you. I'm not prescriptive. I believe you are smart and that you can make your own decisions in your own best interest as to how you want to go about this and what you want to achieve. Now, having said that, I do have a bit of a vetting process. So with new clients, I always hold an initial free consultation call with them. And the main goal behind that is to really figure out where they are and where they want to be, and to map that out for them. But part of that call is where I ask you to share your patterns with me, your drinking patterns with me. And I will offer, if you are physically addicted, if you can't function without drinking during the day, then my program probably isn't a good fit. You probably need to get off, in fact, definitely need to get off alcohol safely before you were to come into coaching. So I look out for that. But otherwise, on the whole, I think you're smart and capable. And a lot of my clients, they're super high achieving. They've done a lot of stuff in their life. Right? And so I assume that they know what's best for them. So when they come to me and they say they want to just drink now and then, or whether they want to give up for good, I assume that they know, that they've thought about it. And that's what they think for themselves. Because I don't know what's best for you. You know what's best for you because it's your life. Now, the other angle on this is that I experience is people often come to me armed with all sorts of government statistics about units and what's healthy, and I'm this age or I'm this weight and I should have this much consumption and all the rest of it. And then they'll tell me what their friends drink and then what their spouse thinks about their drinking and what the lady in the corner shop says and all the rest of it. Right? We have all of this information. But really, the decision as to what's best for you really has to come from you. I'm not going to sit here and advise you to do this or that. I'm not going to tell you, no, what you need to do is this. What you need to have is this as your goal. You tell me what you want to achieve, and we work together to get you to that place. Now, you might be listening to this, might be listening to me speak here and saying, but Anna, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I mean, I know that what's happening right now isn't working, but as to what I do want, that's where I draw a blank. If that's you, here's actually the question to ask yourself. Are you happy with the results you're getting in your life? If you are, then it's totally up to you whether you actually do something about the drinking or not. You might want to go into thinking about, so what's the compelling reason why you'd want to go ahead and do this? But if you're not happy with the results you're getting in your life, it's totally within your control to do something about it. And this is where I want you, and I really want you to be super, super honest with yourself here. What is your current relationship with alcohol? Do you even know? How is it showing up in your life? Again, do you even know? I mean, have you just try writing it out would be a great start. And here's the other follow-on rider question. Where would you like it to be? You. Where do you want it to be? You, not your spouse or your friends or your parents or your next door neighbor or your colleagues. You. You are the best person who knows this. And then when you know that, we can work together to achieve that. And that applies, by the way, whether you're just listening to my podcast or whether you're reading my emails or maybe you attend some of the free classes I give. I'm there for you and your decision around what's best for you. I'm here to support that decision. And the reason this is so important is really it comes down to what we're trying to achieve here. For changes to become permanent, this really has to be your decision. Right? You cannot strong arm yourself into this by telling yourself this is what everyone else says. Well, you can, but it'll be a miserable life. And will it last forever? And I doubt it. Right? Okay. So when talking about this, people often feel again that they come and they need to be on the abstinence or the moderation train. Actually, you don't. Just need to decide that you want to do something different with your drinking, and we can take it from there. But I often get asked what it was like for me. What were my original drinking goals? And my answer is always that I just wanted to have more control back. In my case, it was less about the hangovers and the day after, and I didn't have blackouts and all the rest of it. But it was more about the person I became when I was drinking, and also about the amount of time I was wasting in my life, right? My evenings were so unproductive. Now, and by that, I don't mean that I wasn't working, right? We all need downtime. But what I mean is after dinner, I would fall asleep on the sofa and I would just miss the evening. Just miss out. And then I'd wake up and I'd go to bed and I'd have this terribly interrupted sleep. It was so frustrating. It really wasn't good. And in time, what happened is my compelling event, if you like, was I just became so annoyed with myself. I was annoyed with this more than anything else. Why couldn't I just do something about this one area in my life? These days, I just don't really drink. I just prefer not to. I don't have to hold myself back from it. It's just not something that I want. I might have the occasional sip. If someone really says, oh, this is just, to die for, all those fancy words we use. But I really, really, really have no desire to consume alcohol. In my life, it doesn't make a celebration better. It doesn't make me feel better. I don't feel the need to drown my sorrows when things go bad. None of that applies anymore. So in the end, I just came to the conclusion on my own, and it was a gradual process, that I just didn't want alcohol in my life anymore. Now, the intriguing piece here is I had somebody told me at the beginning that that's what I had to do, and that's what you've got to do. That's the only option for you here. That's what you should do. I likely would have, if not ignored them, then fought it. I would have rebelled against it, right? Because like a lot of people, I'm a grown up. I don't like being told what to do. That was a piece of it. And also the other side to this, the sneakier side, is that I had such an ingrained belief that a life without a glass of Chablis would be dreary and frankly unnecessary, because I knew I wasn't using alcohol to function. But then I thought, if I haven't got that, then everything's going to be less glistening, right? It's just going to lose its sheen. Maybe that's the way to put it. That said, I don't go around brandishing a sober identity. I just don't see the point. I don't like labels. I don't find them helpful. And I purposefully don't use that label of sober in my business. Right? It's my choice. I also don't count days. And I don't have my clients count days either, because so often I see that can bring out the perfectionist tendencies that might be lurking beneath the surface. And the conversation becomes about protecting the alcohol-free streak rather than about becoming the person you want to be around alcohol. I prefer to say I have freedom around alcohol, because that's how I show up in my life. If I choose to have a drink one day, I can and I will, but I don't feel any longing, and I frankly don't see the point. And really, that's the reason why I coach today. That's the reason I decided to start my business. It was such a miracle to me that changing just this one thing in my life, that it could have such an explosive impact in all areas of my life. And I mean all areas. Like how everything has just got better. I thought I had a great life before, but it's now much better. And I just want to share that and I really feel compelled to show others who might be feeling stuck like I was and give them a path out of that into the life they want to be leading. Okay. I do this so obviously I'm in coaching, so I do this through my 90 Days Later one-on-one program, and that's based on my experience and the over-drinking that I did for many years, right? And what happened is I took the time to learn the reasons why I was over-drinking, and that was really fundamental. So no matter what path you choose, right, whether you decide you want to abstain and go alcohol-free or whether you want to moderate, you need to figure out why you're drinking in the first place. Because if you don't, and if you just focus on the action of drinking less, right, or of the action of not drinking, it's going to be an uphill battle. Because we're not drinking in isolation. We drink because of other stuff that's going on around us. Alcohol touches so many parts of our lives. It's really not about the alcohol. And it's about what's going on in our lives internally, our own patterns and our own thoughts and the stories and our histories and our associations that play into that pattern. And that's why we're over drinking. So if we don't do that work underneath, if we don't address why we're drinking, it's just not going to stick, right? It's just going to be, you're going to do dry Januaries and sober Octobers and all the rest of it. And it's just be something you do and then you'll carry on and then you'll just revert to norm. So I coach one-on-one. I choose to do that. And that means I give you the time and a safe space to figure this out for yourself and without judgment. And I find this very valuable as do my clients, because it's a place where you can be brutally honest with yourself. Here's how it works out, right? You get to decide what you're going to put on your drink plan. Now, I'll encourage you to look at how you're making your decisions as we do our work together. I'm going to coach you on making those decisions, and I help you evaluate when you do have an overdrink and when things don't go to plan, right? So you can see how you're showing up in your life around alcohol. But you are the driver in this. And the great thing with this is that you get to practice moderating. You get to practice going alcohol free, and you get to do that whatever is going on in your life. I've had clients start work with me in mid-December and go through the festive season in a completely different way than they could ever have imagined, right? Go through Christmas not over drinking. Never in a month of Sundays did they think it was possible, and hadn't done it for years. Yeah, totally, there you go. You have them doing it. So like I say, above all else, I think it's important to give yourself an opportunity to go to a safe space and not be judged, and to be able to explore some of these deeper rooted issues you might have around alcohol. And just that in itself can be very freeing, right? There's so much shame around alcohol in society that so many people find it a relief just to be able to talk openly about their alcohol consumption. So it can be very freeing to know you're not alone, and that ultimately it's up to you and no one can decide it but you. Now, that's all well and good, but here's the interesting thing that happens a lot. When people first come to me, the most common goal is moderation. And that's not a surprise, because as I say, there's a marketplace full of go sober, abstinence is the only way. I mean, tons of those. And that's going to be a turn off to many people who think that I just don't think that's for me, right? So many people will rock up at my door and they just want to drink less. And that might mean only drinking at the weekend, or having a couple on a Thursday and a Friday, and maybe half a bottle on a Saturday, or whatever it is, right? And again, you get to decide what's right for you. And for some, they tell me, when I've got to that point, Anna, that's me sorted. I'd be so happy with that, right? That would just be the bee's knees. And then what happens is that we get to work and there's a transformation, and they start to change. And then over the weeks, as they start to change, they start to explore what's possible for them, right? They really start to see that actually, yes, it's going to be possible to change my drinking, right? We go from feeling a bit iffy about this to actually, I see it's possible. And then when we get to that stage, then it's a lot of fun, because then they start to get curious. And I start to hear them say things like, I wonder what it would be like to just drink 1 or 2 now and then, right? This might be somebody who says they want to have a couple, 2 or 3 every weekend. They might say, I just want to have 1 now and then when I go out. Or, drum roll, they realize they're actually bored of the whole alcohol thing, and they start to wonder what life would be like without wine in it. It starts to feel within their grasp, right? We start to uncover their real alcohol goal, but it was one they didn't feel was possible, but now they do. Now, I'm not saying that if you coach me, you're going to then decide that's what you want. And I'm not saying it's right and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that by peeling this stuff back, when we start to see why you're drinking in the first place, you start to then reevaluate the whole role alcohol has in your life. And this happens at the point when my clients, when I see they're starting to trust themselves, they start to see what they are capable of. It's such a magical moment. So I see that level of change happen. And therefore, if you're not sure at the beginning how much you want to drink, but you just know you just want to change, that's okay too, right? We can figure it out together. Now, despite everything I've said, it can feel really scary to take the step to do something about your drinking. Perhaps right now you've been Googling, am I an alcoholic? I know I used to do that often at 3 a.m. Right? I'd be sitting up in bed, not able to sleep. I'd be Googling it, even though I knew I didn't identify as such, and likely that's your thought too. And yet you maybe have many past failures behind you. You've tried so many times to change, and yet you're still stuck. And then you start to think, well, maybe it won't really work for me anyway. I mean, really? Me? So ingrained. Look at my history, look at my family, look at blah, blah, blah. So if that is you, and me on these podcasts, I like to give you something, some action, some homework, something you can take away and use in a practical way. Here's a tool I use with my clients that you can start using straight away. It's going to move you from feeling stuck and get you into the phase of starting to believe. And it's simple. I want you to look at your drinking through the lens of being your own best friend. I mean, truly, people say, oh, yeah. No, I really want you to imagine your best friend. Now I want you to look at your drinking through her eyes or his eyes. You'd have compassion, right? Compassion is so important. Compassion every step of the way. Compassion for yourself when things don't go to plan. But it's compassion with purpose. What I'm not saying here is I'm not saying it's not about letting yourself off the hook. Right? So for instance, let me show you what I mean here with an example. For instance, you might say, I shouldn't have planned those 2 drinks yesterday. It would have been a great opportunity to try drinking just 1. No, we don't start shaming and blaming ourselves for what we've done. Instead, we look at the decisions we did make. So what was the decision we made? So how many drinks did we decide we were going to drink? Maybe it was 4. And we look at why we decided that. And then we're looking at that, we can then decide for the future, how do we intentionally want to choose what we decide next time? So we chose 4, and that was our result. What do we want to decide next time? Right? So we're not going to judge ourselves for what we decided. We're not going to judge ourselves for what we ended up doing. We're going to learn from it. And this is what I love so much about coaching. It's all about going forward and making better decisions and having awareness. And yes, we even get a little bit playful. Yeah, you heard that right. Maybe we'll talk about this in terms of maybe I'll do something different next time. Maybe I'll try this other thing. I wonder what will happen if I do this instead. It's all about learning from failure and being nimble with it and being just willing to back ourselves and not shame ourselves and just see. So, if you're sitting there saying, do I want to abstain or to moderate? You don't have to make that call today. But what you can do is start getting to know yourself, start getting to know your story around alcohol, start seeing where in your life it's having an impact and how you would want this to be if you could. And then start playing. All right, I'm going to go out to this family meal, or I'm going to go out to this party. I wonder what will happen if I fill in the blanks, have 4 drinks. I wonder what will happen if I make a drink plan. I wonder what will happen if I were to listen to one of Anna's podcasts before I go out to dinner to fill me up with belief. I wonder what it would be like if I did believe it was even possible. Right? Because then what you do is you start finding out what you're really capable of. And I tell you, this gives me the shivers just thinking about it. So whether you want to moderate or quit entirely, if you want to abstain or moderate, that's entirely up to you. But do know, my friends, that you have that decision available to you. You alone. You don't need anyone else's permission at all. And if you want help figuring this out for yourself and to reach your drinking goals, I'm here. I can help. I've literally been there and done that. And yes, I use the word literally, advisedly. And I've also captured the how to do it in a simple, doable process. So I can help you avoid the mistakes I made. You'll still be failing along the way. This won't be friction-free, but I can give you the shortcuts. And I can give you the tools and the techniques to help you navigate this more simply for yourself. So if you want freedom around alcohol, if you want to have a great life, irrespective of what's in your glass, then you need to coach with me. I help people drink less or drink not at all. Hire me and I will help you join the ranks of people achieving freedom around alcohol. Go to 90dayslater.co and click on the blue button to book a call with me, or you can email me on anna@90dayslater.co. That's all for this week, and I'll see you soon. Bye. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. And we do it in 90 days. The effect is permanent. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.